Pietro 39. Everything is better in purple. Pietro woke up with the sunrise. He was excited to start on his study of the color purple. He had already done a deep study of yellow, red, blue, pink, and green in that order, and he had learned a lot every time. And you can probably guess, orange is coming up soon. Purple has not been used that much in art through the ages, with the notable exception of the purple explosion with the Impressionists. I'll tell you that story when we get to pigments. Pietro wondered if the reason purple was underused in 2D image art was possibly because paintings were mostly created by males until the 1920s, and purple is a confusion color for red-green color blindness. After taking a break to refill his coffee, Pietro checked his email. There was a note from Anastasia, copy Scott in Alexandria. She had gone to Facebook to thank Speaker Johnson for supporting Ukraine, and there were all these negative comments. Negative comments on a Facebook politics page? That's about as likely as an insane character in the movie Barbed Wire Canoe, Pietro thought to himself. Just as he was about to get back to work, he saw Scott had replied to the email. Some of those comments are from Russian trolls. Pietro smiled. For some reason, an image of purple trolls flashed up in his mind, but he needed to get back to a serious study of purple. Onward. The science of purple. Light spectrum wavelength. Purple light has a relatively shorter wavelength and higher energy compared to most other colors in the visible spectrum. If we are being generous about the definition of purple, and we are, it ranges from about 380 to 450 nanometers compared to red at 625 to 740 and the centrist green at 510 to 565 nanometers. All that talk about nanometers reminded Pietro of the sitcom Mork and Mindy with its nano. Magenta, or purple, is a secondary color formed by mixing primary colors red and blue. So then, what is violet? While the terms violet and purple are often used interchangeably, there is a subtle but distinct difference between the two. Violet is a spectral color, a color you would see in a rainbow or from a prism, occupying the shortest wavelength in the visible light spectrum, and it is often described as bluish purple or purplish blue hue. Purple as a pigment. The history of using pigments in the arts, especially painting and dyeing of cloth, is contradictory at best. For most of history, the marketing claim that the purple dyes are rare and hard to get worked to keep prices astoundingly high. However, if you've ever spilled red wine on a white shirt or splashed a blueberry smoothie on yourself, you know the truth. Wild huckleberry and pokeweed are also common in the Pacific beech forests. That said, I will tell the tale the way they want us to. Manganese pigments derived from prilosite, manganese dioxide, have been found in cave paintings in Gargas in southern France, dating as much as 30,000 years ago. The discovery of manganese is credited to Gottlieb Gahn, an 18th century Swedish chemist. His pioneering work centered on the isolation of manganese dioxide from the mineral prilosite, identifying manganese as a distinct element. It's a transition metal known for its diverse applications, including in alloys like stainless steel and batteries. In the arts, we focus on manganese dioxide, a pigment used in various shades of purple. This toxic pigment, known as manganese violet, was prized by artists for its vibrant hue and light fastness. Artists such as Vincent van Gogh, 1853 to 1890, and Henri Matisse, 1869 to 1954, utilized manganese violet in their paintings to evoke a sense of depth and richness. Matisse's last major paintings used the pigment extensively. Purple in clothing. The murex shellfish, a genus of sea snails found in oceans worldwide, has played a fascinating role in both ancient history and the world of color production. These shellfish, particularly species such as the Murex brandaris and the Murex trungulus, were prized in antiquity for their ability to produce a pigment known as Tyrrhenium purple. Pigment would undergo a chemical reaction and change from clear into shades of purple, ranging from deep violet to reddish hues. Tyrrhenium purple held immense cultural significance in ancient civilizations, such as Phoenicia, Greece, Israel, and Rome, where it was reserved for royalty and high-ranking officials due to its rarity and expense. Julius Caesar, a key figure in the transition from the Roman Republic to the Roman Empire, understood the symbolic importance of purple as a marker of authority. He famously donned a purple-bordered toga known as the toga praetexia during public appearances to signify his status as a high-ranking official. Similarly, Nero, the notorious Roman emperor, was known for his extravagant taste and lavish lifestyle. He famously dyed his robes and garments with Tyrian purple, the highly prized pigment derived from the murex shellfish, to flaunt his wealth and authority. Nero's penchant for purple was emblematic of his opulent reign, characterized by excess and indulgence. As he thought about Nero, Pietro could start to understand why Alexandria felt they were still in the Roman Empire in the USA in 2024. Victoria Sparks, born in Cherniv, made passionate defenses of her homeland, part of her election campaign. She wore blue and yellow, criticized President Biden for not imposing more sanctions on Russia before the invasion, and pledged to fight for aid. She just voted no for aid for Ukraine. Pietro thought about Scott's comment about Russian trolls. The tendrils of Putin have a firm grasp on some of America. The Bible in Acts chapter 16 speaks of Lydia from Thyatira, a merchant of expensive purple cloth derived from the madder plant. This dye, especially in its red form, is still prized today. Madder, Rubier tinctorum, grown in Greece and Turkey, is a perennial herbaceous plant cultivated primarily for its roots, which contain a compound called alizarin. Through a labor-intensive extraction process, the roots are crushed, fermented, and boiled to release the pigment, which yields various shades of red and purple. William Henry Perkin, a pioneering chemist, made an indelible mark on the world of art and science with his groundbreaking discovery in 1856. Just 18 years old and attempting to synthesize quinine for the treatment of malaria, Perkins stumbled upon the first synthetic purple pigment, which he named malvine. Perkins' creation revolutionized the textile industry, providing a stable and affordable alternative to the expensive and labor-intensive natural dyes like Tyrian purple. Reimagining art with purple. Pietro was not interested in copying previous artworks, but to restate them with a liberal dose of purple. He knew full well he would crash and burn a number of times, but he could retain the prompts that worked for future use. William Adolphe Bogras' Dream of Spring was an allegory in the academic style of the day that the Impressionists and other practitioners of modernity were trying so hard to break away from. The first effort of this reimagining had little prompting. The other two had the cherubs prompted in. Woman with a Hat by Henri Matisse, done in 1905, reimagined. Matisse's use of vibrant colors is well known, and Woman with a Hat is no exception. Pietro was particularly pleased by treatments of purple's complementary color, orange. The Dream by Pablo Picasso, painted in 1932, to reimagine this surrealist masterpiece, Pietro prompts in various shades of purple to create a dreamlike atmosphere. The central figure, a woman reclining on a chair, is depicted in hues of purple, contributing to the painting's enigmatic and otherworldly feel. At first, they felt a bit gray to Pietro, so he increased the vibrancy and employed the use of orange. The next series is inspired by A Sunday Afternoon on the Island of La Grande Jatte by Georges Seurat, completed through 1884 to 1886. As Pietro starts adding pink, we see the purple starts acting as the black or shadow. He does the same thing when he does CMYK watercolor. The next inspiration is William Merritt Chase, The Kimono, in 1887. But instead of a chair, Pietro has her on the floor with a purple and red kimono. He then evolves the Japanese screen background. There are many paintings of the Artist's Garden at Giverny by Claude Monet. It is a stunning example of the artist's mastery of color and light. These are just a bit more purple. We will close this section of the study with purple with some images by Vincent van Gogh, 1853 to 1890, one of Pietro's favorite painters. It was time to close this phase of the investigation and move on. He wanted to illustrate the story of Esther as an upcoming project, and so he decided to do some character and background scene sketches to begin to prepare for what would be a long project. The story takes place in what is now Iran, about 475 BC, in the second of the earth's four biblical kingdoms, the Persians and the Medes. King Xerxes throws a party for the noblemen of his kingdom. Queen Vashti throws a party for the women of the palace. King Xerxes invites Queen Vashti to come. She declines. The king fires her, searches for a replacement player, which is Esther, who was raised by her uncle Mordecai. Just over a year ago, Pietro had done a series with people in a sunflower field in colors close to the flag of Ukraine, yellow and blue. It was meant as a memory reminder that they were still there. He had done one or two more after Anastasia requested him to do them. But right now, he was in a study of purple. How could he take this idea and purplize it? I don't know if you've ever pickled Ukraine purple tomatoes, or even the fresh tomatoes. They are heirloom variety. You can save some seeds to replant next year, and they have an excellent taste. Problem is, Midjourney generative AI does not seem to know how to draw them. Pietro tried again and again. They kept coming out round. All the purple Ukraines he knew of were oblong, shaped like a Romano or plum tomato. And sometimes the AI did not create a field that looked anything like tomatoes. But some of those images were darling, so he kept what he felt were the best ones. They still show the use of purple as a background or accent color, and that is the goal of the art campaign. And with a blue and yellow border, Pietro felt they would serve as reminders of Ukraine. And of course, just as he was finished and ready to move on, the AI popped out a properly shaped Ukrainian purple tomato. During this art campaign, Pietro had employed the artistic styles of Impressionism, Fauvism, Academicism, and it touched on Surrealism with the Dream series, but that was mixed with Cubism. Now he wanted to see how Surrealism and purple could work together. It was getting time to bring this campaign to a close. He decided to remix some of what he had done and look for a bit of abstraction along the way. First, he redid the water lilies. There is no dance of the veils in the biblical story of Esther, but Pietro had learned to stress test his characters, else you end up with 19 different versions of a character by the time you get to the end of the reel. So as we end our study of purple, please enjoy the dance of the veils. Next stop, Esther. The end. A hui ho, and may God bless.